Well, happy Tuesday. It is August the 19th in the year 2025, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. Does education travel in circles? Sometimes it seems to. At least it seems to in my life. I received a package in the mail this week, and the package was from a friend from my past, but describing him as a friend does not give total justice to our relationship. He was not just a friend from my past, but an influential friend from my past. As a matter of fact, he was the president of the university where I received my master's degree. Dr. Jim Vickery has written a book, and he made sure that I received one through the mail through a mutual friend, my good friend in Los Angeles, the actor Mychal O'Neal. Mychal O'Neal, who has been on with us a couple of times. Dr. Vickery's book, called the name of it is Awakening to Racism in Alabama, the education of a native son and the lessons he and his peers learned resisting Jim Crow. Dr. Vickery's book is over 700 pages and promises to be a great read. I look forward to it. He was the president of the Student Government Association at Auburn University when the first African-American student came to the university, and his book is based on that experience and similar experiences. Another good friend of mine, Dr. Ainsley Carey, who's Vice President of Student Affairs at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. Dr. Carey and I have been friends since we both worked for the Googe administration at Auburn University. Dr. Carey has also penned a book. His involves history and higher education administration. We were able to catch up last week, and it had been a while since we had a chance to talk. I wish him success with the book, and knowing Dr. Carey as I do, I'm sure the book will do well. Today's show, our G-List guest for today is a monthly roundtable discussion with Barbara, Wallace Edwards, Michael Walker, and myself, and those of you in the chat who choose to participate. We look forward to those conversations. Our show today, of course, is brought to you by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Michael.
I don't know what happened. Looked like there's a disconnect there.
Right.
Let's just go ahead and see. Thom will join us.
Right.
Let's talk about you being down in Orange Beach, South Alabama.
I'm in my happy place, Michael.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Orange Beach is really a place where a lot of people are going and spending time. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this flesh-eating bacteria going around. It's called Vibrio, I think, Virbrio, and it's in coastal waters and what have you.
Mhm.
And a few people have died, lost their life.
I actually read about that before this trip, and I think a small child actually died from it. Parents said that a couple of days after returning from vacation, they noticed that he had this rash or something, and took him to the doctor, and no one could figure out what was going on. Another lady said that I think the North Carolina coastal waters were there and got in the water and got out, and she said that there was like a rash around her leg. And there is definitely something out there. I'm definitely going to be careful, not planning on really getting in the water that much, but walking along the beach side. So I'll touch the water, but I'm trying to be very careful.
Well, you got to make sure that you don't have an open wound and
Right.
what have you.
Right.
But I found something interesting as I was reading that article that was talking about it. It mentioned the fact that this particular bacteria is one that lives within shellfish and
Oh,
what have you.
really?
Yes, like, and I am an oyster lover. I love oysters and stuff,
Right. Yeah.
but especially if they're raw or uncooked oysters, this is where you can have that bacteria
Yes.
that will feed into the shellfish itself. And eating an oyster that's been uncooked will cause you to become sick and stuff. So, if any of you out there are oysters lovers like myself, you may want to revert to making sure that they're being cooked and stuff.
Cooked well. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, you have to be
absolutely.
very careful.
And washed well.
Wash well. You're right, Thom.
I agree with
You're
that, Kiki.
absolutely correct.
Yeah,
I would say any seafood right now, just be very careful with it. Don't, try not to consume anything that's raw because you don't know. You just don't know what's out there in the waters or
yes,
in the
yeah,
air even
right.
these days.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, let's talk about what's out there.
Yes.
The Cleveland Browns.
Mm.
Let's just talk about it. Let's get it out of the way.
Let's go ahead
Let's,
and get that subject
let's,
on
let's
the
Go
table
ahead, go
early.
ahead.
and then I have another. It just seems like from every day there's something new. You know, Dylan Gabriel gets up there and makes some kind of crazy comments about your entertainers and there's competitors
Right.
and all of
Yeah.
this type of stuff. And people are like, well, what are you talking about? I personally don't think he meant any harm, but I think he just kind of got lost in the moment. All of a sudden you got these guys, TG, and you can relate to this, that have been playing football and doing this, but really have not been prepped to do interviews with the
Right.
media and
Right.
stuff. And now just because they made it to the NFL or the NBA or whatever, you have people want to stick a microphone and hear their thoughts.
Mhm.
Okay. That's really a little bit unfair. They need to really start to prep these guys, especially the ones like quarterbacks and what have you, that are going to have microphones in front of their faces, like
Yeah,
that.
and to me, Michael, that's part of the development process while they're in college, even in high school. Go ahead and start prepping them to answer these type of questions because they're going to get thrown at them every single day that the media is allowed to access them. So they really do need to be careful.
Well, who's
Well,
going to prep them?
he
I
didn't.
think that should be part of the college curriculum, if not even high school.
Okay.
It's not, but I think that they definitely should add that.
Okay.
Well, depending upon personnel of your team. I mean, that looked like a comment about Shedeur Sanders.
It did.
And I don't think it was. I don't think this kid knew any better. But you can't. You just got to be careful about what you say and how you say it. It's not fair to him. It's
Right.
not fair to Shedeur.
Right.
But you got these reporters, and this is their job, and
Right.
is to not just report on controversy, but in some cases create
it. I was going to say they pick up on any little thing, and he may not have meant anything by it, but they're going to make something out of it. So, yeah, you have to be very careful.
What else you got there, Mychal?
Well, I got a couple things, but one thing. Well, I got to say this. Over the weekend, our negotiator in chief decided he's gonna.
Oh, the one who's ended the war. The war is over, right?
Yeah, right.
He said on day one he was going to end the war
in 24 hours. Okay, the negotiator in chief, he goes to Alaska to meet with Putin, and he's going to broker a deal between Russia and Ukraine, but the president of Ukraine is not there.
Wasn't even there.
A good friend of mine asked me over the weekend and said, what do you think going to happen with this? I said, well, the man for Ukraine about to get screwed because you got Trump and Putin having a meeting about him, and he's not there.
Yeah.
Right.
And did you see they rolled out the red carpet for Putin? I'm like, this man is a dictator, a killer. I mean, why are you welcome him like that? He's like, this is my best friend. What is the deal?
Well, here's the
I
other
think
part
they
that I
got it.
found so funny is that Trump made a comment to somebody about how he can tell in the first 5 minutes if there's going to be a deal or not and all this type of stuff. And if not, he'll just say, okay, no, I'm done. And I'll go back to the United States. They said, wait a minute.
You are
You're
the.
in Alaska. It's the United States.
He didn't know. He didn't know. Bless his
Oh
heart.
boy.
You know,
The,
the
the
U.S.
stable
bought
genius didn't know he
the
was in the
U.S. bought
U.S.
Alaska for $7.2 million from Russia, I think back in the 1800s or 1700s or something like that. Trump said he'll get on his plane and go back to
Come
the
back to the
U.S.
U.S.
I think Putin has Trump by the you know what. I
He
really
Yeah,
does.
do.
He
yeah,
does.
I do too. I
I
do
think
too.
he has him, and I don't think that Trump can figure out how to get out of it. You know, uh,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
even know if he realizes that he's in that position, though, Tom.
well, and most of the time the presidents I've seen,
Hmm.
you don't just up and go and do all these meetings. You basically have a staff
Hmm.
who does all the research, who meets with the other guys, all his personnel,
Right.
his top people, and you know the outcome before you go into the meeting.
Right.
And that's not the case here. Um,
Well, he wants a Nobel Peace Prize so bad, Tom. Prize so bad that he's trying to say he's a great negotiator and he can end all these wars and in hopes that they're going to award him the Nobel Peace Prize. And I don't see it happening, but I think that's what he's after. So he don't want anybody else involved because if it turns out successful, he wants all the credit.
well,
well, Hillary Clinton said she would vote for him for the Nobel Peace Prize if he ended the war between Russia and Ukraine.
right. Yeah. Well, the governor of Nebraska says he's got a problem. It turns out that the migrant farm labor has fled the state because of this whole thing of deporting people and so on and
Right.
so forth. It has caused a crash in tax revenues in the state of Nebraska
Mhm.
because most of the migrants have fled.
Right.
And let's see, it's Nebraska is facing a net loss of $15 billion of sales from its economy and $350 million from its tax base. They are the first, quote, red state to say that they need help.
Mhm.
The governor has asked the president for help. In
And
other
what
words,
kind of help is he asking for, Tom? Did he say?
I think, first of all, he wants them to quit deporting all the
Yeah.
people doing the damn work,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Right.
But I think he may want some money from them.
Yeah.
And, we'll see what he gets. I doubt if he gets anything.
I agree.
Uh, it's
Because
already a rich.
Nebraska's not the only state that's being hurt by that, and it's not
Oh, I
just the
know.
farmers. I actually went to the nail salon last week, and the owner said that they're having problems keeping staff there because they're afraid of being deported. So they got
Right.
people not showing up for work. Some of them have self deported, and they're concerned about leaving their family behind. So a lot of people are living in fear right now because of the administration and how they're treating these people who are from other countries. Because I'm not even going to call them immigrants. Some of them were born here, and they're still afraid. So it's just it's
You know,
hurting a lot of industries.
yeah, and the way that they went about it, and we've talked about this, but when you think about it, like Nebraska is talking about how it's hurt them economically. You're talking about the nail salon. You're talking about a large portion of our economy, and you
Right.
can you can
Yeah,
call it the gig economy. You can call it whatever economy you want to call it. It's
right.
still a part of the economy. And so you go and you implement and then execute laws that actually does more harm than good
Mhm,
because of the way you implemented it.
mhm.
Had you gone after the people that are quote bad guys that
Bad
have the
guys,
warrants
right?
and done all this type of stuff that
Hmm.
should not be here, then yes, let's go get them.
Hmm.
But you going to churches and arresting people at places of worship and all these places where they're just actually going about trying to be a contributing citizen.
Right. And going to places of business and restaurants and nail salons and construction sites, farms, people where people are actually out there working. They're actually disturbing them while they're working and deporting them, arresting them.
So all those people that are pulled that do those services, now how are you going to backfill those to get them to the consumers?
They're not. That's the problem. And as a matter of fact, they said a staggering 71 large U.S. companies filed for bankruptcy in July, making this the highest monthly total since the 2020 pandemic. And a lot of it is because of things like this. They cannot find the people to do the work. And a lot of people that are being deported were consumers, so they're losing sales. It's impacting our business world in great measures. And I don't think our what did you call him, our president and chief, whatever he is,
chief negotiator.
I call him the clown. But I don't. He did the supposedly strategy they're using. They didn't think through it, and you're right. They didn't go about it the right way.
They're not allowed to think through it. There's only one thinker,
and he's not thinking very well.
And he's not very clear on what he's doing.
No,
and, they don't doesn't look as though they sit down and have strategic meetings as to what they want to do.
I think they're afraid to go against anything that he says because he
they better not.
knee-jerk reaction. He gets rid of them and talks about them and degrades them. So that's what he did in his first administration. He just got rid of people that didn't agree with him. And so
that's when Rex Tillerson called him an effing moron.
Yes. Yes. So the people that are surrounding him now are yes people. They're afraid to go against anything he says because they don't know what kind of reaction he's going to have. It's probably not going to be a positive one.
Well, it's not going to be one. It's like this black woman who's in the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
He always wants to call people names, calls her a moron and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, you fat dummy. How you gonna call somebody a moron?
Exactly.
It's sad. And now he says he will lead a movement to eliminate mail-in ballots. He also wants to get rid of voting machines, and he would sign an executive order ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Now, those comments came after he said that President Vladimir Putin of Russia had discussed the issue during their summit.
Wow.
Yes. Now, help me understand this. He wants to get rid of mail-in ballots, right? And that's what it says? So the servicemen and women...
machine.
Yeah.
And the voting machine, yeah. So, well, first of all, the men and women who are serving overseas and wherever, that's how they vote is through mail-in ballots.
Right.
So you want to get rid of that voting block, okay? Right. And then now you want to get rid of voting machines. And we're living in which century are we in now? So
we're moving backwards, Mychal. We're moving backwards, remember.
And so then what are we all going to do? Go up and do paper ballots? And then people are going to count those paper ballots?
Well, and it's the Republicans, and I'm going to pick on the Republicans, but they always say it's to get rid of fraud. But the only fraud they ever find is among the Republicans.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And there isn't this widespread fraud. Like they jumped on those two black women out of Georgia.
Right.
And I don't know, man. It's really this whole thing of trying to jerry rig what happens in Texas.
Yes.
And to make sure that they get more seats in. I don't know. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
It's
it's that fear factor again, Thom. They're so afraid that they're going to lose. They're just trying to rig everything. But if you did the right thing, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Well,
People want
if
to
you
vote for
got
you.
somebody running like Tuberville, you got to rig it. 'Cause
It's rigged from day one.
the
And people,
last thing you want is for him to go out and have to talk to people. Uh,
that is true.
You mean he who doesn't know the three different branches of government
Right. Right.
and didn't
That
know
one.
about the Voting Rights Act? Okay,
That one.
then. Uh, I got something for you guys here. And, this is really kind of interesting because we're talking about Title IX and what have you. In London County, Virginia, public schools have suspended 2 young men because they had interactions with, and when I say interactions, I'm saying verbal interactions, nothing harassing, with a female student who identifies as a male and chooses to use the boys' locker room at school. So these 2 young men come into the locker room, and there's a female in there who is a biological female, but she chooses to identify as a man. And, so she goes into the boys' locker room. So they're asking her, what's going on? Why are you here? And what have you. And she records the conversation with them, which is a violation of district policy to do that.
Right.
Well, how it turns out, the 2 young men have been suspended from school. They have determined that they are responsible for sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination, according to their attorney. The punishment is 10 days of suspension, no contact order with the other female, including not being able to attend the same class. And they're also now required to meet with school administrators to determine a corrective action plan. And this is all because this girl decides she wants to be a male and she goes into the men's locker room at school.
Wow. Wow.
and what did the boys do when she was in the locker room? What did they do?
They didn't do anything to her. They're just questioning her. There's nothing in here in the article saying that they sexually harassed her or did anything like that at all. But they're charging because they're questioning what happened. Can you believe
I'll be honest with you, man. I would hate to be an administrator in one of those positions.
Right.
Because I believe a person can be who they want to be, whatever they want to be, whatever. But then the other person has a right to not feel like he or she has been encroached upon.
That's true.
Because they don't agree with what the other person are doing. It'd be really, to me, it'd be a hard thing to figure out.
Yes.
I don't know.
I agree. I mean, did this person that I guess she was a female, but identifying as a male, did she feel her life was in danger? I mean,
No.
what was what was her complaint?
Well, she didn't really have a complaint.
Or did she complain? She may have just, hey, if in fact I'm going to say this, but if she identifies as male, well, in the male locker room, there's always a lot of jokes and there's a lot of stuff being cracked.
Right.
People are talking about stuff.
Right.
People are talking about each other's genitals and the whole bit.
Right.
So if that's the world you want to be in, then that's the world as it is.
You have to accept it as it is. That's right.
Right.
But she must have felt threatened or something, I guess, if she was recording. That's what I'm asking. What was the issue? What made him start recording the conversation?
I don't know. It didn't really say that, but what I found is that it said that was a violation of district policy to be recording in the locker room.
And nothing happened.
I think it's a problem to record anybody anytime without their permission. I don't know.
I think in certain states that, as long as one party it knows about it or something, it's okay. So it depends on the state's law, I think. But
but in the gym, where I go to the gym, they have a sign: no videotaping, no cameras, no picture taken in the locker room.
Right.
Okay. So I don't know. I just found it interesting that they are going to have to go through all of this.
Right.
And here's the deal. If this is something they were going to do, don't you think they needed to make everybody aware of this up front so that then you would avoid stuff like this?
Yeah, like I said, it depends on what was happening. Were they
Yeah.
harassing her? Were they threatening her? Whatever. So without all the details, it's hard to say. But if they would just question her, why are you in here? This is a male locker room. You're obviously a female. Then yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Was she naked?
No. No.
Okay, I ain't getting it then.
Me either.
Neither am I.
I'm saying I'm missing something here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who knows? I don't
Very
know.
interesting.
Yeah,
It is.
And,
It is.
what did it say? As the world turns.
That's
It
right.
does.
Why don't we go to Sean and let Sean give us a minute or two, and then we'll come back and do the G list thing.
Okay.
Sean, are you there?
Good morning to everyone joining in with us. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Summer break is coming to an end. The kiddos are heading back to school and getting in their last thrills and chills before they do. Do you like amusement parks? That means roller coasters, funnel cakes, walking, and lots of it. Well, on this day in 1961, amusement park lovers head for the thrills as Six Flags over Texas has its soft opening. Located on 212 acres in Arlington, Texas, Six Flags was the first to feature log flume and mine train rides, and later the first 360-degree looping roller coaster, modern parachute drop, and man-made river rapid rides. The park also pioneered the concept of all-inclusive admission price. Until then, separate entrance fees and individual ride tickets was the standard. During its opening year, a day at Six Flags would cost $2.75 for an adult and $2.25 for a child. A hamburger sold for 50 cents and a soda set the buyer back, you guessed it, a dime. Take me to this place. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
You sound a little muffled,
Yeah,
Thom.
we can't hear you, Tom.
Oh, okay. I don't
Now
know.
you're back.
Now you're
Okay.
clear.
All right. I just said that I don't know if you can get a ticket for $2.75 anywhere in this
Easy.
and a
Not
soda for a
anywhere.
dime. That's great.
No.
So we don't have a G-list guest today. Our G-list guest is the team here. So what else we got to talk about here?
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys, and this is going back to healthcare. Now, you know that there's the party in power continues to talk about getting rid of healthcare, and I mean Obamacare rather, and they want to get rid of the premium tax credits and what have you. Our healthcare is a big problem here in the U.S. And I, being in the business as an agent and broker, I see it from a different lens. And I have always said that the biggest problem is with the providers. And here's an example of why. You can go to one place to get a knee replacement, and it costs $12,000, $12,870 to get a knee replacement. Or it can cost you $101,527.
What?
An ankle replacement in Austin, Texas, hospital charges $22,000, while a New Jersey hospital billed more than $197,000 for the same operation.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is part of the stuff that I do in the association, the one that I got elected as officer. This is what we do, is go out and fight these battles and try to say, hey guys, it's the providers that's causing these issues.
Right.
It was always a misconception and misconstrued that it was the agents because we're making all the money. The hospitals are charging it, and then the insurance companies have to charge enough in premiums to set money aside so that they can pay the claims. But when you have claims all over, you got a knee operation that'll cost $12,000 in one part of the country, and then $101,000 in another part of the country, and it's the exact same thing.
Right.
How do you budget for that?
I know someone, Mychal, that had some dental work done. They'd gone to 3 different dentists in the Atlanta area and got quotes, and was like, I can't afford that. Someone told them about a dentist in Las Vegas. It was doing the same procedure, and it was thousands of dollars cheaper. So of course they bought a $300 ticket, went to Vegas, had the procedure done, and saved thousands of dollars. They didn't have any insurance to cover it. So I was like, but how do you justify that?
You don't. And see, that's part of the problem with the industry. And when we talk about transparency, that's what they do not want. Okay. All of these types of procedures, and don't even start to talk about outside of the country, where we have people now going outside of the country to get services. It used to be the opposite. They were coming here because of technology and advancement and the fact that we were so good. Now people are going that way because we're overcharging, and people are just taking advantage. This company here called, I think it's called Triant Health. And what they did, they were doing some research and stuff, and they said the U.S. spent $4.9 trillion in healthcare in 2023, or $14,570 for every person in the U.S. And that was in 2023. And it says, despite spending more than any other nation on earth, U.S. life expectancy is the lowest among large, wealthy nations.
Yes.
Now, how do you figure that?
Yeah, Mychal, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are people that will go to Turkey to spend a couple of days in Turkey and have all their testing done over there because it's so much cheaper. But even with their tickets, the hotel costs, the meals and everything, it's still cheaper to go there to get a diagnostic overview of all kind of tests done there than it was to get it done in the U.S. It is. I don't know if there needs to be some type of oversight where someone goes through and say, okay, for this procedure, this is what all needs to be done, and have some type of price setting in place, because it's ridiculous how some of these and some people can't afford to do the travel, so they have to get the services done where they're located, and they're in millions or thousands of dollars in debt for medical purposes, and that's something they'll probably never get a chance to pay off in their lifetime.
And see, that's another issue. Whereas hospitals, when people get in debt medically, that's one of the leading causes for bankruptcy amongst consumers. So then they get faced with a medical debt like this, and it was a bill that just got voted down that I think the Biden administration put forth, yes, whereby they would not allow insurance companies and hospitals to put that on people's credit reports because it interferes with them being able to get a job and do whatever. So, you really, biting off your hand to spite your face, basically, or whatever it is, biting off your nose to spite your face by doing that. So now they kill that, okay? Prices are going up. And then you see this right here. I had a friend of mine whose father got some sores, bed sores, had to have skin grafts and stuff. And so they have been getting the bills and stuff, and everything, hospital, everything was being taken care of. Then all of a sudden they got a bill for, I think he said it was $190-something thousand, no, $900 and something thousand, somewhere like that, for the skin grafts. And they were charging $97,000 per square inch.
Oh, wow.
Of skin graft. And so, and he called me And we started talking, and he ended up calling some people that was overseeing the billing in the hospital, and just say, "Hey guys, we can't do this.
Right.
You didn't even tell us that it was going to be this. All the itemized billing I got never even talked about this, and now you drop this on me at the end." So they ended up writing it off.
Yeah, of course. They
Okay, they
needed to.
they ended up writing it off, but they were trying to hustle them for that.
Wow.
So does the association have a kind of partnership with the private sector market guys? In other words, can you guys influence the hospitals, or you basically just have to work with them?
What we have to do, is keep preaching the message to the elected officials that this is where the problem is, and show them more data to lead them into making some legislative changes. In other words, there are some other things that are going around in the country. I was contacted last week about a group, it's going to be a purchasing alliance here in Atlanta, where there's a group of, say, Fortune 500 companies that are going to band together and create a purchasing alliance to offset the rising costs of premiums and try to help with the employees that way. And that's the side that we can do more stuff on. We don't have any control over the hospitals themselves. That's going to have to come through legislation, but we can help to be an advocate for changes. And
Legislation.
transparency is what we're asking for.
Right.
One of the things, Thom, that we were able to influence is there was a big issue called surprise billing. And it was more along the lines of saying someone has an emergency. And this was a real story down in, say, like Union Springs, Georgia, Union City, Georgia, a little outside of Atlanta. Person had an emergency and had to be airlifted to the airport. Not to the airport, but to Grady Hospital. Well, her insurance covered emergency transportation. The problem was the group that came to airlift her wasn't a part of her network.
Right.
So they were out of network. They airlifted her, and she got an outrageous bill, something like, just for the conversation, say like $80,000. Whereas if it had been in network, it may have only been $12,000 and would have been covered by her insurance.
Right.
But because it was out of network, the insurance won't cover it. A lot of time that falls on the individual if you have services out of network.
Right.
Our issue was this was an emergency. She was not in a position to say, are you in network or out of network? It was life and death. She was not even capable of making a decision. It was her family members trying to save her life.
Right.
So now how are you going to come here and blame her for this and say she has to pay this because she got service out of network? The lady's unconscious. She didn't make a decision. So we were able to get some legislation change so that there will not be any more surprise billing in the emergency type situation. So that's how we have to effect change, Thom.
That was going to be my next question was, what's the response when you go talk to, I guess you're talking to elected officials.
Yes.
How is it, are they receptive? I mean, I know they can't just go out and change stuff tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it receptive? Are they receptive to listening to what you have to say?
Yes. When we make it about their constituents, or make it about their family member, when we are telling the story about what happened, and just say, imagine, Mr. Senator, if it was your mom, okay, or something like that, but bring in the facts and drive it home, they see it. Or when we say, this was in your district, this happened to one of your constituents, and this is a problem, we got to fix this. So they're more apt to act on that and find legislation because it's going to impact them as well. It's going to impact them by, will they get reelected? Are they going to get their voters to vote for them? And then they themselves could be in that situation.
Right.
And that's one thing that I tell everybody is, healthcare is not Republican or Democrat.
Right.
Everybody has to have
Bipartisan.
okay, it's a bipartisan issue,
Yes.
and so I use that a lot. So right off the bat, we get rid of all that stuff, so the walls go down, and then I paint the picture to them. But yeah, that's how we have to make change.
Yeah, that's interesting, Michael. You talk about legislation, and also the insurance companies have to do their part. And I think the large companies can negotiate with providers and make them, stay within a certain price range, or will only reimburse them a certain price amount, regardless of what their charge is. So that in some ways helps with lowering the cost of some of the health insurance premiums, because the insurance companies can sort of negotiate with the providers in that manner. But yeah, that's very interesting.
It is. It is. I had something else that I found pretty interesting here. There was there's been a couple situations where there are people that have been in prison serving life sentences for prison, and their wives go to visit them, and they end up strangling or killing their wives. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have, Michael. I think there was something maybe this year where that happened.
Yeah.
The wife went to visit her husband, and for whatever reason, they got into an argument or something. He ended up killing her during the visit.
Yeah, this guy, he was in California, named David Brinson, 55, California inmate, serving 4 consecutive life terms
Wow.
for a 1993 quadruple murder. And now he's been charged with the murder of his wife, Stephanie Daniels, who died in prison. So, I had heard about things like conjugal visits and stuff
Right.
like that,
Right.
but I kind of really didn't understand how they do that. But this guy, it was like she went to visit her husband, who's in prison, serving life sentences for 4 murders, quadruple, and she ends up dead. And he calls them saying, she passed out. And then come to find out, he killed her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
If the man is on, huh?
She did more than pass out. It sounds.
He choked her.
Yeah.
So
I don't
you
know.
got somebody that's
read. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, you got somebody that's serving life sentences for murder.
For four murders?
For 4 murders, and you allow him to have visitation with somebody, and there's no barrier between them.
No supervision. Visitation. Yeah, that's not a good situation at all. I mean, I know the prisoner should have some rights, but that's one that I think should definitely be taken away.
Well, and then you always read stories about some women who fall in love with prisoners after they're in prison.
Right. I'll never understand that, but yeah, they do. There's some that have pen pals, and they end up falling in love and marrying them while they're in prison.
Yeah, sure do. I guess I can kind of see that they develop pen pal, and I know they have programs to help to try to rehabilitate prisoners and what have you. And so I kind of get that. And, somebody wants to marry, okay, fine, that's you, that's on you. But I guess from a standpoint of a facility allowing this to happen, I just don't understand. So now, who's held accountable for this?
Right.
And she wasn't the only one. There was somebody else. This has happened more than one. This is not like it's a one-off.
Right.
So I would think that somebody will be held accountable for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can hold the prison accountable for it, but I don't know. Like that is something to think about, Michael.
And then I guess, what kind of visit? are they out in the open in a conference area?
No, when they have these conjugal visits, they're in a private, like a private room, and they can only spend so many hours together or whatever. But yeah, they have. I think someone's watching, maybe probably at the door or something, but outside the room. But I think they have the conjugal visits. There's no cameras. I think they search, search the person visiting with them. They search them before they go in, but there's no cameras or anything in the room, and no one's there watching them.
Well, I don't know. That's tough.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It is really tough.
It is.
I feel sorry for the women and even for some of the prisoners.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So guys, young men, in my opinion, they have to get from age about 15 to 30. They're pretty vulnerable in terms of what they do or don't do,
All right.
the decisions that they make and or don't make. If you don't have good leadership from your family situation, it's tough.
It is.
You end up making decisions that affect you for the rest of your life
That's so true.
and may affect somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That is so true.
I want to go back to the insurance thing for a minute, Mychal, and the politicians. What's the why they want to get rid of Obamacare? So is it because it's Obamacare, or are there flaws in it that says we need to change this?
Well, the answer is a combination, but I will say the flaws or the weaknesses in it are not ones that cannot be addressed with common sense or retweaking. Okay. So they want to use that as justification to get rid of Obamacare, in other words. And I think a lot of it was more of the same, that it was President Obama who got it done. Okay. That's just, to be honest, that's what it was. I even remember one guy when I had my Allstate agency that worked for me that said, Obamacare, he said, to be honest with you, Obamacare really benefits my wife and I, but we're not going to vote for it. Yes. So what can you say about that? Okay, it is what it is. All right.
Voting against your own best interest.
Right. Right. And Thom, to give you an example of what we're talking about, it was based on Obamacare, or ACA, which is the technical term for the Affordable Care Act, is what it is. It was based on the premise that everyone would buy into the plan. That's how insurance works, is because you spread the risk,
Right.
in other words. So in order to have it accessible for everyone, we needed to have both young and healthy, as well as mature, seasoned, healthy, to help carry the people that are unhealthy, in other words. You see what I'm saying? Because you spread it out that way, because it's based on a community rating, is how you rate health insurance, so to speak. The unhealthiest and the healthiest come up with a figure. But
Right.
what you had, because they didn't put enough teeth in it, the younger people said,
I don't need it.
I don't need it, and I'm not paying $800 a month of health insurance,
Right.
because I'm 25 and I don't get sick. If I have a problem, it's an accident. Well,
Right.
then what they started doing was, when they have an accident, then they run to the emergency room, or then they go try and sign up for insurance and try and get it. Well,
Right.
it doesn't work that way, because you haven't participated and then
Right.
put anything in the system.
Mhm.
The other part of it was having the tax incentives, the tax credit, because on the healthcare.gov and here in Georgia, the way people that do not work in corporate America, that do not have group health insurance, they have to get individual insurance. Well, the only way they can participate is to go to a accesshealthcare.gov or something like that and pay for it. But it's so expensive. Like it would cost like $1,000, $1,200 for somebody making $40,000 a year. So the government puts in these tax incentives and tax breaks that makes it more affordable. So the Republicans want to take that out because that's a key component. So if they take that out, it falls. There's no funding. So that's what they mean when they say they want to defund it or not fund Obamacare. And mainly, it's just to say it was part of, he had the audacity to run for president and then to turn around and run again and win. And so they just picked a thing. It's repeal and replace. They kept saying repeal and replace. Well, number one, they couldn't repeal it. They
don't have anything to replace it with either.
And they didn't have anything to replace it with. So why are you going out there saying repeal and replace and you have nothing to do when you could just turn around and say, let's fix what we have?
Let's fix it. Right. Right.
They don't want to do that because then that would be helping him.
Right.
And submit the legacy. Yeah. They don't want to do that. And they would not be able to say, we fixed it, because it'll give him credit. So they want to repeal it, replace, and then say, now this is better. We've done it. See what we did for you?
But they don't have anything better. That's the issue.
That's too bad.
It is.
Too bad. Well, see, and the thing about it, Thom, it's not a one size fit all. Healthcare is not a cookie cutter type thing. It takes a lot of different things in layers and combinations to come up with a healthcare system that covers everybody.
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
Yes, it is.
I don't know, man. That's interesting. I know that it was hot for a while on this repeal and replace, and I thought it had gone away, but.
Well, they bring it up every once in a while, but it's the same old story. What are you going to replace it with?
Right.
Right.
You know,
right.
There's nothing better out there. So, yeah, they take it away, then people are just going to be left with nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
All right. Either one of you got anything else?
Well, Thom, it's hard to believe that we've been doing this show for 5 years. Looking back over the list of all our guests, it's just amazing. I guess they say, time flies when you're having fun. So I guess because we're having such a good time with what we're doing, it doesn't seem like it's been.
You know what? And this is it's 5 or 6 pages here.
Yes.
Of who the guests have been since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, we didn't have any specific program. We're going to get this many white people. We're going to get this many black people. We're going to get this many women. We'll have this many men, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at this list, it is diverse as anything you could find in this country.
Yes.
And to me, it's because we didn't specifically say we're going to get this type person, that type person.
Right.
But we have diversity in our own lives.
Yes.
And so because we choose the people who we know in our lives or who we've had some experience with, or Mychal talks about the insurance people. He brought Don Bolio, I may say his name wrong or whatever, but you bring people in who you have experiences with. And fortunately for us, we all have experiences we all have diverse experiences.
Yes.
We all have diverse people in our lives, and we're willing to talk about that. And so when you don't have any diversity in your life, it's very easy then to criticize programs that say we're going to involve all of these people.
All right.
But Emily and Sean, who are here and who are great and wonderful. I remember one time I think they brought up something about having more women on the program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you go through this list, there are women, men, it's amazing. And I think it's just a testament to how we see life.
Yes.
And the the diversity that we have in our own lives.
Yes.
And so how that got to be a bad thing for some people, I don't know. But
It's not a bad thing, Thom. It should not be a bad thing.
yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Um, okay. Anything else from you guys?
I got something that's kind of funny, and it involves Shador Sanders. Poor Shador. Even when he doesn't have anything to do with something, his name comes up. It was doing, I think it was over the weekend and stuff. It was doing it was First Take, Stephen A. Smith show. And this young lady by the name of Monica McNutt, she's usually at WNBA. She played at Georgetown and what have you. So she was brought in to be the host of and to take Molly Crim's place. And they brought in this guy who's an influencer. You've seen him on a bunch of commercials and stuff. His name is Drewski. He had on a Detroit Lions number 20 that said Sanders on it. Okay. Monica McNutt, knowing, so this shows you her age and stuff. So she's sitting there and she's the host. So she kicks everything off and she welcomes me to the show and say, and we see that you are repping, and that's, I'm paraphrasing here. She said, one Shador Sanders. Tell us about this jersey you have on. And he said, no. This is about Barry Sanders. The Barry Sanders.
The Barry Sanders. The other Sanders.
No, they don't
She
know.
automatically assumed that it was,
Sure.
first of all, it was a football jersey.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe it was a baseball jersey he had on.
Right. But
Yeah.
it said Detroit Lions and it had Sanders and number 20. Okay.
Well,
And so the next day they didn't have her on the show because fans called in, complained and said she doesn't even know the sport she in. Why don't you guys keep people in the sport they know and stop putting them in stuff they don't know? There was all kinds of stuff coming up. So she didn't show up the next day for the show.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
if it didn't happen yesterday, they don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But I would think, I don't know. Thom, Barbara, when we were growing up in school, we were always taught never assume anything.
Right.
Because when you assume wrong.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we also taught history.
Yeah.
Right.
So that I feel sorry for, and everything. This will be a valuable lesson, where she could have just said, tell us about the jersey you have on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Others making that assumption that it was
Go with
a Shador Sanders jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And,
he's in the news today, and he's, everybody's buying his jersey, but she should have known it, again, that's not even the Detroit Lions. He's with Cleveland.
Right.
So what would that have to
Two
do with
different
these things?
jerseys.
Yeah.
Two different numbers. Barry Sanders 20. Shador 12.
Barry
Yeah,
Sanders.
she was all off base with that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Shador this year.
Yeah.
It did. I mean, you couldn't blame him if he has some kind of, if he can't get it together up here,
Right.
because you got so many distractions going on every day.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think he's learned to block all of that out, thank God, at least so far. And I think his parents have raised him well, and he's sort of been coached along the way. So I think he knows how to handle all of that.
Well, I liked one thing he said after his first performance. He says, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
There's a lot in that
And
statement.
that, yes,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And people that haven't experienced that don't understand that.
Right.
But you get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's all you know. That's your life.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I was happy to hear him say that. And
Yes.
hopefully some people would understand. But I doubt it.
Well, and I mean, it's, in sports, it's different, but your son doesn't get blamed for stuff you do. Mine doesn't get blamed for stuff I do,
Right.
I get blamed for stuff my son did, but that's another conversation.
That's a topic for another day, Mychal.
Well, I understand that. But I don't know. But hey, the kid seems to handle it pretty well.
Yes, he does.
And
Yeah.
let him get out there and play and see if he can play.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought it was classy. I don't know the beginning and the end of it, but the middle part was Jalen Hurts gave him a ride on his cart to take him.
Yes.
So he could. Now, what's the oblique muscle? What is that? Where is that?
It's wrong here in the side. Here, it's a side muscle.
Where that?
Yeah. Right. And so that twisting. So these are obliques on the side. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was a classy move on Jalen Hurts' part. It was part of it. To me, it was sort of saying, he had a pretty tough road too to get to where he is now.
Right.
Well, Jalen Hurts said that Shedeur came to him and asked him, would he have a conversation with him, that he wanted to seek some advice.
Oh, did he really? Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
Good.
Those are two classy young men. They both are.
And you know what's so great about it? When they asked Jalen Hurts about it, and they asked him what the conversation about, he says, well, I'm going to keep the conversation intimate between he and I. But he just came and asked me for some advice, and I was happy to give it to him. And so we had a good time having a conversation.
That's all he needs to say, man.
Oh,
yeah.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't need to know all that.
Right.
Exactly.
Nobody's business.
What you want to know that for?
So they can tell everybody else.
Well, and I don't have anything against Tua, but I'm just glad to see Jalen Hurts doing so well after Nick favored Tua over him, and
So. I told everybody all along I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Tua, And I told these Alabama folks, diehard Alabama, one of my best friends, Tua this, he leads in every statistical category. I say, so what? He's not a winner.
Right.
I say Jalen Hurts a winner. Jalen Hurts is a football player.
Yes,
okay, that's the difference. I say
Tua
may be
player
a more
and a gentleman.
passer. Tua may have more skills when it comes to passing, but Jalen Hurts a football player, and that's what you want.
That's
right.
Yeah,
you want to be able to give him a play and he go out there and execute it, and hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So Cleveland got Joe Flacco's gonna start, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll see how long that lasts.
Yes.
I wonder how long. I wonder how long they're gonna keep 4 quarterbacks. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from you guys before we move on to the conclusion here?
Nope.
All right. Well, let me close out by saying I want to wish my friend Pat Eddington over in Mobile. I wish her well. I hope she gets better. And Pat, we're praying for you, and hope all is well. Also, I want to, in my closing, talk about the James Owens book, Just Follow Me. Being released on the 26th. It's a story of integration in the Southeastern Conference, and James Owens, of course, was the first Black football player at Auburn University. The book's available in paperback and hard copy. It will be available on the 26th of August, which is next week, at all your bookstores and Amazon, and at our website, bestgirl.com, where you can actually get an autographed one. James was the first African-American football player at Auburn. He was one of the first in the SEC. The book also covers the entire conference in terms of integration. I think you'll find it interesting. Who was the first team to integrate in the SEC, to bring in a Black player? University of Kentucky brought in a player who ended up dying in practice. There was a pile up, and when they uncovered, this kid was dead. And so that was, And the way they got their first, Kentucky got their first black ball player is the president at the University of Kentucky went to the coach and said, if you'll bring in a black player or some black players, I'll give you lifetime employment.
Wow.
And the guy said, well, draw up the deal. And so he drew up the deal. And so that's how the SEC started its integration.
Oh, wow.
With Greg Page. And like I said, he got killed in practice.
So he never got a chance to play at all, Thom? Or was this during the season?
He never made it out of practice.
Wow.
When they unpiled, he wasn't breathing.
Wow.
And there's also here's some great stories.
Oh, yeah.
They went to Auburn, to our alma mater, to play a game, and they were staying at one of the motels there. It probably was the heart of Auburn back in that time or something like that. And one of the black players had gone out to eat, and when he came back, he had a white roommate. He came back and he put his key in the door and he tried to open the door, but the chain was on the door. And so he was wondering why the chain was on the door, and the guy cracked the door. And his roommate, who he had met on this trip, had a pistol and was sitting there with the pistol. And so he finally let him in. The guy didn't know if he actually wanted to go back into that room. There's some great stories in there. And so people should really enjoy it. But the book's called Just Follow Me. And that was, it was a game we were playing against Tennessee. Tennessee was number 2 in the country. They had 3 All-American linebackers. And James's job was to block them. And so that Henley could run the ball. And it got down to the goal line, and Tennessee was putting up a stiff defense. And James had broke his collarbone or something, and he had tears in his eyes. And in the huddle, they said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I think I dislocated my shoulder or broke my collarbone or something." And somebody said, "Well, why don't you get on out? Go ahead." And he said, "No." He told Terry, he said, "You just follow me."
Wow.
And he went up in there and blasted that hole in there. So the book's in paperback and hard copy. It'll be available at all bookstores, and signed copies at Best Girl or at Sean at Best Girl. So we look forward to it, and it should do well, hopefully.
I'm sure it will.
Okay, anything else? That's going to be our show for today. Next week we have who do we have next week? Oh, your friend Barbara Sheriff Glover Fluker.
Yes.
Yes, that sounds interesting.
Yes.
And
she's written her first book, My Secret Birmingham.
I
said she's written her first book, Secret Birmingham.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. I say, well, Birmingham's having elections. The city of Birmingham is having an election, and
yes,
I saw the woman running.
Yeah, there's several women running, but there's one that's more outlandish than others. But yes.
Okay.
Interesting times. If you haven't watched that debate, it's out there on YouTube. There were 2 different debates last week, and comical is one word that I use, but it was very interesting. Very interesting.
How many people are running?
I think there's like 8 candidates, but the debate last week, they took the top 5 candidates for the debate. And then they had a forum the night before, and I think there were 8 people there, 8, maybe 7 candidates there. So, but I think there's actually a total of 8 running for mayor. And then, of course,
and the current mayor is running for re-election, right?
He is. The incumbent is running as well. Okay. Mayor Brenda Woodfin. And I think he, my opinion, I think he probably will win, but there's a lot of characters running, and some I think have a legitimate shot, but I do think that the incumbent will win re-election.
Yeah, I saw this woman the other day. I don't know her name.
Yeah.
Call her name. We don't have to call her that.
No, we won't. We won't have to.
She was running it. So
I will say, if anybody just if you Google the mayor election in Birmingham, Alabama, and there's probably going to be a lot of interesting things that will come up, and you can see some videos that are, again, I will say in many cases are comical, and others they're embarrassing. It's interesting. I don't live in the city of Birmingham, so I don't have a dog in that fight, but yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Anything else from you guys?
Well, that's it for me.
That's good. Okay. Well, thanks again. That's our show for today. Thank the audience. We appreciate you as always. Thank our G-list guest, who is the three of us, and thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. Thanks again to our team, and that's it for this August the 19th in the year 2025. Remember, a day without a smile is a day wasted. Enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Blessings and peace.